Hi guys, welcome to our book club. Today will be the fifth session of this experts level, The Turn of the Screw, a book written by Harry James. This video will cover from chapter 21 to chapter 24, so let's just start. As you may see guys, I am already sharing my screen. And very quickly, let's just remember what happened in chapter 20. So in chapter 20, remember that we have the situation with Flora, that she went by herself in this to this very dangerous place that was close to water, and then Mrs. Gross and the governess were looking for her, and when they found her, they saw Miss Jessel, and the governess was like, "Oh yes, I know I wasn't crazy, I know something was happening," but Mrs. Gross was like, "Oh no, this is super scary because I am seeing something. And well, uh, after that, remember that Mrs. Grouse and the governess took Flora to the house, and that at night the governess was in front of a fireplace, and then Miles entered to the room. He sat down next to the governess, and the governess says that, oh, he didn't say anything, but I know he wanted to be with me. And that's the ending of chapter number 20. So in chapter number 21 we have the next day. So the next day, Mrs. Grouse is waking up the governess like, "Hey, Flora is bad. Flora, was she had fever all night long. And also, well, she's weird because she says that she doesn't want to talk with you anymore." And the governess is like, "I knew it. Why? Did she tell you something about what happened with the ghost, about, Miss Jessel, something?" And Mrs. Grouse is like, "No, but she's denying everything. She said like she didn't see anything, she doesn't know anything. So, well, that's it." And then they start discussing a way of save her because they want to save her. And the only solution they arrived, it was that Mrs. Grouse needed to take Flora with her uncle, or like took her as far as she could, because otherwise she will be very very ill. And Mrs. Grouse is like, "Okay, I can help you with that. I don't want to leave you alone, but I can do my best. But what happened with you? Like you will stay in with Miles. Do you think you will be okay?" And the governess is like, "Oh yes, I think I can manage it. I think I know how to save him." But since they start talking about Miles, they also mention the letter. Remember that the governess wrote a letter to the uncle of the kids in order to ask him to come because something was happening. So she wrote that letter and she said like, "Oh, I will leave her here and later on the postman will take it." Well, the postman never took it. And they are discussing about the letter, and they arrive to the conclusion that Miles was the only one who could have taken it. And they say like, "But why?" And then also say like, "Oh, probably that is the reason why he was rejected from school. But do you think he will steal letters?" And they are talking about that, and at the end they just agree. Let's see, where does it say? "Master Miles, do you mean he took it?" Yeah, they are talking about the letter. Like, "Oh, this is the only, he was the only one." I mean, it says that I saw yesterday when I came back with Miss Flora that it wasn't where you had put it. Later in the evening, I had the chance to question Luke, and he declared that he had neither noticed nor touched it. This is the guy that picks the letters. And well, it says like, "Oh, that's why he was, like expelled. Why? He stole." And they're like, "I don't think, like maybe he stole letters." So well, they are discussing and says like, "Well, I will just fix that. For the moment, you need to leave. And they have a farewell. It says like, oh, they just hug, like, oh, take care, because they are discussing that in order that this works, nobody needs to know. So the maids, the rest of the employees, the maids, they don't know. Miles, he is number one. He doesn't know anything. And it's like right now as a secret. Took her and go. So they in this chapter is like, well, she left. Mrs. Gross took Flora and left. She's not in Blight anymore. So chapter 22, the governess is describing like, I felt it. I felt a little bit sad when Mrs. Gross left. Now, like, what have I done? This was very, maybe not brave, maybe reckless, maybe a little bit desperate from her. But, well, she's discussing that. And let's see. Uh, 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 uh. Well, it says that since the Mrs. Rose and Flora left, they don't know everything about them, but in the house, Miles also, remember, he knows the governess knows about the letter and also about the ghosts, or at least about Miss Jessel and Peter Quinn. So they don't want to be in the same room together because kind of feel that they will start an interview or something like that. So it's here that he was just enjoying life because remember that he has freedom. The governors cannot control him. So they are talking about that. And then let's see. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Oh yeah, like the dinner time arrives, and the governor is like, "Hey, Miles, come, let's just eat." And Miles is like, "I'm not hungry." Well, come on, like eat. There's a lot of food. And Miles, he doesn't want to eat, but while they are having a conversation, the governess is eating. They are eating. Let me see, where is it? It's training because it is Mutton, muton. But I don't know where is it now. I lost it. Well, they are talking, and the governess is like, oh yes, well, sit down, eat. And Miles is like, where is my sister? And what happened with her? Why, like you told me she is very ill, so why, like why? And the governess is like, oh, here in this part, like, look. Did Blee disagree with her so terribly suddenly? Like she got suddenly sick just because, she was here? And it says, not so suddenly as you may think. One has it coming. Then why did you get her off before? Why you didn't took her before? Why now? And it says, before what? Before she became too ill to travel. And it says, she's not ill to travel. She only may have become so if she had stayed. So in order to save her, she needs to be far from here. And in this part, Miles, he doesn't want to eat, and he is not sitting down. He's very close to a window. So they are having a conversation, like Miles here and the governess, she's eating. And in this part, since they are having a conversation, the governess says that a maid arrives in order to put something on the table, and Miles keep quiet. So the governess is comparing this scene with a couple that they are a little bit shy in front of others. And, well, like at the end, when the maid left, Miles says something very weird, but it says, he turned round only when the waiter had left us. Well, so we are alone. Remember that Miles speaks with this very fancy way of speaking? Speak with this way fancy way of speaking. I'm so sorry. But he speaks very weird. I think it's not very natural for a kid. He is very elegant. He uses other words, other structures. So I think he's flirting. That's why, when he says like, "Oh, we are alone." I think that he's flirting. And that is the ending of chapter 23. The chapter 22. Let's just start with chapter 23. And remember, they are um, they are having this conversation. It's like, oh, we are alone. And the governess is like, oh, not very much, There we have employees, or there are employees in the house. And Miles says like, oh, you're right, but we are alone in the room. And the governess is trying, like to see. It says they don't much count, do they? I made the best of it, but I fell one. It depends on what you call much. Yes, with all accommodations, everything depends. On this, however, he faced to the window again and presently reached in with his back restless, contagious step. He remained there a while with his forehead against the glass, in contemplation of the stupid shrubs. I knew the dull thing of November. I had always my hypocrisy of work behind which now I gained the sofa. So they are having the conversation. They said like, "Oh, we are alone." Oh, but not so much. And then remember that the governess is on it's sitting, and Miles is just like standing in front of a window. So Miles he just look outside the window. And during that, the governess is describing that Miles was pale, that he wanted to faint, and also that he wanted to tell her something, but he didn't know how to start. So the governess is trying, like to push him a little bit. So it arrived a time when Miles says like, "Hey, why did you stay? I mean, my uncle hired you for taking care of my sister, not me, so why are you staying?" And the governess says something like, "Oh, because I really enjoy this place. And also, remember that day I told you that you can count on me, that you can tell me everything you want? So I am just waiting." And Miles says, "Oh, that's very sweet of you." And they continue talking, and there's a time that Miles says like, "Oh, okay. I remember you asked me about something." And the governess is like, "Oh, yes, but you didn't want to say anything." And Miles says like, "Oh, well, if you want, I can tell you, but not right now. Let's just, like go for a walk." And the governess is like, "Oh, but how come? It's very late, like this and that." And then there is this very weird conversation where the governess is thinking, or she is tempted by the elegancy, or like the face, the models of Miles, and she's tempted to, like something, tempted to something to happen, something. They don't mention kisses nor anything, but it's like, oh, like something can happen here. And well, anyways, those are the thoughts of the governess. And then is this conversation that the governess says, well, sorry, continue with the conversation. The governess is like, "Oh, okay, well, I cannot, uh let me see, I cannot do anything if you cannot tell me, but tell me, like this is a good time." And Miles says like, well, like I will tell you later on, but not now." And the governess is like, "Okay, can I ask you for a favor?" And Miles says like, "Oh, but something like this? Like you want to tell me a secret or something?" And the governess is like, "No, something really, really small." "Okay, go ahead." And the governess asks Miles like, "Hey, what happened with my letter?" You took it, right? It says here. A very much smaller request. He looked as if he felt he had succeeded enough to be able still a little to bargain. Very much smaller? And yes, a mere fraction of the whole. Tell me. Oh, my word preoccupied me, and I was offhand. If yesterday afternoon from the table in the hall you took, my letter. So the governess is just asking, like, did you do it? And Miles says, like, oh, that is the ending of 23. So let's just start with the last chapter. A lot of things happen here, guys. But we'll continue with the idea of the letter. Miles says, like, yes, I took it. And the governess is like, did you read it? Yes, I read it. And did you like what you read? And what did you read? And it seems that in the letter it was just like the governess asking his uncle, like, hey, can we have an interview? That's it. So the governess is like, oh, poor Miles, like you just stole something very, very, very small because it was nothing. And, well, it says, what did you steal it? What did you steal it? Sorry, to see what you said about me. And the governess is like, oh, but did you like what like you opened the letter? Yes, I opened it. My eyes were now as I held him off a little again, on Miles' own face, in which the collapse of mockery showed me how complete was the revenge of uneasiness. What was prodigious was at last, by success, his sense was sealed and his communication stopped. We knew that he was in presence, but knew not of what, and knew still less that I also was, and I didn't know. So, like, did you do it? And they are, playing this game, and he says, like, okay. And did you like it? Like, it wasn't what I thought, because it says. Uh, 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 There was nothing there. I felt that the cause was mine and I should surely get all. All my found nothing. And you found nothing. And then, in this part, it's like, hey, Miles, this is what you did at school. That's why you were rejected. And Miles is like, did you know that I was rejected? And the governor is like, yes, I know everything, but I don't know. Well, no, she doesn't say anything. She just say, like, I know that you were expelled, you were rejected, but I don't know the reason. So tell me, please. And Miles is like, oh, well, it's just because I trust in someone. And the governess is like, and yeah, like I trust this person not to tell anybody, and this person told the teachers or told other students. And that's it. And it is just because it seems that Miles was saying some stuff. I don't know. Let's see. But some stuff, I think, if in the same way he talks, so maybe he was flirting, or maybe he was yeah, I think he was flirting. He was saying things that he shouldn't. So it says here, they thought it was enough to turn you out for. Never truly had a person turned out shown so little to explain it as this little person. He appeared to wait my question, but in a manner quite detached and almost helpless. Well, I suppose I owned. But to whom did you say? But to whom did you say them? And I don't know. I don't remember the names. And the governor is like, but give me details. Give me details. Like, what did you say? And Miles is like, I don't remember. I don't remember to whom. I think it just, like it was something really bad you shouldn't say. But I didn't know they will tell. Oh yeah, because he trusts in this person or in these people, and it's like I was sure they wouldn't tell anybody, but they tell the teachers. So that's why he was rejected. We don't have more information. Just that. And well, they continue talking a little bit, but remember that Miles, it is facing the window, so the governess is describing that, oh, he looks sick, he looks, like weak, he looks like that. And there's a moment when they mentioned, oh yeah, because the governess is getting close to Miles and she hugged him, and when he is hugging him, she could see, like outside was someone. So she knew it was Peter Queen. And Miles was like, what did you see? Miss Jessel is here? And the governess is like, Miss Jessel? Why? And well, I mean, Miles is not giving any information, but but he is a little bit jealous because like they mentioned Flora, and also they mentioned that Miles was giving the governess a look like he was upset, he was a little bit jealous. And the governess is like, but no way, like I'm here for you, and the person in front of us is not Miss Jessel, it's Peter Queen. Oh well, it's a he. You know, it's he. I was so determined to have all my proof that I flash into sorry. I was so determined to have all proof that I flash into eyes to challenge him. Whom do you mean by he? Peter Queen, you devil. His face gave him round the face, its convulsed supplication. Where? So remember that the governess is, like hugging Miles, and Miles is not facing the window. So he's giving his back. The governess is facing the window. So she is looking at Peter Queen, and Miles is like, oh, because like you reacted, you did something. I know. Is someone outside? Is me Jessel? So in that moment, Miles felt a little bit jealous, and the governess is like, oh no, it's not Miss Jessel, it's Peter Queen. So I'm sorry, it's him. Who is he? Says, like the governess. And well, Peter Queen, because the governess made Miles to pronounce that name. And after that, we have that the governess is like, oh, I know Peter Queen is real, but you won't take it, because there's a part when the governess is like, you monster, you won't take Miles. Miles is mine. Miles is safe. And I don't know. Like it worked. But meanwhile, Miles is like moving. Like there's a part. It says, there. But he had already jerked straight round, stared, glared again, and seen but the quiet day. With the stroke of the loss, I was so proud of he uttered the cry of a creature hurled over an abyss, and the grasp with which I recovered him may have been that of catching him in his fall. So, like the governess is hugging him, and then there is this part when it's like, oh yeah, but Miles is mine. And Miles is like moving, and then like he just was super weird, super weak. So the governess caught him, and the governess caught him, and he's like, oh, I know that he's free. But then we have this line, guys. We were alone with the quiet day, and his little heart, dispossessed, had stopped. Like what? So he was possessed. We know that they were talking about possessions then, and it says like he wasn't possessed anymore. She knew it, but then he died. So what happened with Flora? Is she safe? And then the uncle, like, what? And that's the ending of the book, guys. So that's why I needed to reread. To reread. some chapters, some paragraphs in order to understand. But I guess that's why people say it was very ambiguous. And it's an old book, so I understand that there are some blanks. Also, it's the style of the author, but like what? But I mean what? So yes. So that is it, guys. That is it. We ended the book. you know so I am very excited about listening to your opinions, about your theories, about your hypotheses, because none of mine was correct. So see you in our last discussion, and well, thank you guys. Bye.